So, you want to get into Digimon Vpets, but you don't know where to start. That's fair. There is a lot to look at, and it takes a bit to really understand, because you basically have the Japanese Vpets, and then you have the English Vpets. And the Japanese Vpets aren't always immediately labeled as Japanese Vpets, but you can usually identify them because they are more expensive. The pendulum, for example, is something that people are begging to come to English because the Japanese ones are just so expensive, but they're so high quality, and I want one. But anyways, we're not talking about that today. We're talking about where do you start. And this video is more for my North American viewers. That's the United States of America and Canada, maybe Mexico. So I don't know for sure if this applies to you. If it doesn't, there might be something out there that you can rely on, but overall this is for Americans and Canadians. So, where do you start? You have basically three options now. You have the Digimon 20th anniversary, which is like this one here. It has the regular roster. It's basically a remaster. Both Amazon.com and .ca sell it. They have their pros and cons. All of them have their pros and cons, and we'll discuss that later. The other options are the X1, which is this one. There's the blue one over here, and there's a few others. There's like a black one with a red X, a blue or a white one with a blue X. That's all the X1s, and those are all available on Amazon.com, not .ca, but you can get it if you are in Canada. You just need to shop in .com. You won't have your Amazon Prime benefits, but yeah. You might also find them in EB Games, or GameStop I guess it's called now. I found this one in EB Games, but I'm not sure how often they restock. When I was asking around, it seemed like it wasn't the most popular product in the world, so they might have low priorities there. And then the last one with a bit of an asterisk right now is the Digimon X2. Sorry, I just looked over and there was poop on the screen, so gotta wash that off. And we'll go over all the ups and downs, but the X2 is currently only available on Amazon.com, and that's another asterisk. We'll put a little pin in it, and we'll cover that later in the video. Let's start with Digimon 20th anniversary. The pros with that one, I haven't gotten too far into it, so this might vary, but I found it to be surprisingly easy to manage mostly. I say mostly because of an issue I'll cover a bit later. But overall, like with one Digimon, it's really easy. With two, I was expecting it to be a bit crazy, but it was actually pretty easy and not too overwhelming at all. I was raising an Agumon and a Dorumon. And yeah, it wasn't too much of an issue. It was actually really enjoyable seeing the two interact. There's a lot more to look at with two Digimon, because again, they can interact sometimes. And you have two Digimon raising, and it kind of makes up for one of the issues I have with it, which is the roster. And I know, like, a lot of people praise the Digimon 20th for its roster, but I found it kind of lacking. You have a lot of eggs to choose from, and the egg you get determines basically the entire, like, evolution line you get. And the egg will have a baby 2, a child, one of 2 childs actually. It'll have the option of 2, except for some special eggs, like basically any eggs that are actually unlocked will be very streamlined. It'll only have, like, it's literally just a line. It's not like, there's no branching paths. It's not like a tree or anything. It's just a one line with, like, some little exceptions at the mega stage, but our ultimate, I'm going to get those terms mixed up a lot, and you're just going to have to deal with that, because I've been dealing with Vpets, and I've been dealing with the show, and the show uses Mega as its last form, and the Vpets use Ultimate as their last form, and it's very, very confusing. So, where was I? Yes, the raising 2 of them at the same time, and the branches. So you get the 2 rookies, and then you get a slew of branches for the champions, but that's kind of a, I guess, like a falsity? Like, it's kind of like a false hope, because you look at it and you go like, wow, there are so many champions that you can get. And it's all based on, like, the specifics of how you raise your rookie. But your champion actually, like, falls into kind of like, basically, instead of it being like, 3 champions and then each of those champions having 3 more champions or 3 more ultimates, and then those having 3 more ultimates, it's instead, you'll have like 3 or so champions if you raised your Digimon well, 3 champions if you raised your Digimon not well, and then 1 champion if you did something in the middle. And then the 3 champions that you raised them well with all diverge into the exact same ultimate. So it doesn't really matter in the long run. Same with the 3 like, not raised well champions. They'll all diverge into the same ultimate. And the one that is like an in-between, that will also go into its own ultimate. And then that ultimate will turn into 1 mega. It's no branching paths, it's just 1. So I don't really like that a lot. I really like being able to have multiple forms, multiple options as I raise my Digimon, and that doesn't really do it for me, because it's like, once I have an Agumon, it's like, okay, I've had an Agumon. And that's mostly just, personal preference. That might be a pro for you, because maybe you like the lines that are available. I'll have a link in the description. My cat wants into my room again. I'll have a link in the description for all of that. And I'm going to let my cat in, and I'm going to go make my bed, because I'm now realizing that I haven't made my bed before recording. So that's awkward. So, what other features does the DM20 have? It has a Coliseum mode that lets you fight Digimon in sort of a line. You can either start a new game or you continue where you left off. There's no in between there. And at first, I didn't have too much of an issue with that. But after playing around with the X again, it was definitely a step down. And I'll talk about that in a bit. What are you doing? And the last thing I wanted to touch on was the evolution. I said before that the poop factor, like taking care of 2 Digimon, was pretty easy. And that was until my Agumon evolved into Numemon. And Numemon poops a lot. And it went from like, I could go 1, 2, maybe even 3 hours without checking on my Digimon and they'd be fine. And instead now it's like, if I don't look at them for an hour, like there's 4 poops on screen, everyone's sick. And it's a lot more of a handful to take care of. And I don't really like that, because I mean, like, I have a job. I am going to be taking classes soon. I don't really want to have that much stuff to take care of. And yeah, it's just a bit, it was just a bit jarring, the sudden spike in like care needed, because it's an adult. I was expecting less care required. But instead I got more care. And she's just like on an adventure. What else? Feeding. I actually like feeding in the DM20. Whenever your Digimon poops, they're going to lose a heart in either their hunger or their strength, and you just feed them and it'll make it better. So all Digimon have 4 hearts in both strength and hunger, and they slowly go down over time as the Digimon poops and you feed it, and that's all fine and dandy. Very simple. What I like and what gets improved on, because I shouldn't say that I don't like it, because I do like it, but it's just improved so much upon with the X's, is the training. So when you train your Digimon, it will increase their excitement and it will decrease their weight. And their weight being low is important because the less your Digimon weighs, the less likely they are to get injured after a fight. So the thing is that training only reduces their weight by 5, and the X1 and X2 improve on that by bumping it up to 15. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, because you'll often, with the amount you're feeding your Digimon, especially in later levels, you will have a Digimon that is at the cap of weight, like, very quickly. And you will need to like slim them down, and with the Digimon 20th, that takes a lot of effort. That takes a good bit of playing a very repetitive minigame to lower it by an amount, and sometimes it lowers it by 5, sometimes it lowers it by 4. It's not very consistent. Do Digimon X, and you go to training, and you go to the Excite training, it will lower it by like 15, and so that's pretty huge in terms of difference. And so with Digimon X, with the eggs, you have only 1 egg. With the X1, you have 3 rookies. And that will depend on how you raised your Digimon. 1 for if you raised them poorly, 1 for if you didn't really go much into the Excite training, and 1 if you did go into the training a lot. And you'll also get more Digimon unlocked by doing what is now called the Quest mode, which is replacing the Colosseum. And instead of fighting, just 1 Digimon and then you can either continue where you left off or you can reset, you instead have different areas, and as you go, you unlock more areas. And you can go back to old ones, you can continue where you left off, you can go to the start. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I can show you right now, actually. So I'm at area 12 right now. And if I press this button, we can... Man, this camera is just so bad. Maybe the lighting's bad. I don't know. But yeah, we can go through all these different areas, and you can basically train up your Digimon easier. Because some Digimon evolutions require a certain level, and you can like easily go to an area and just train up your level. And it's a lot more interesting that way. So this is post-recording this video, and I had a few more thoughts that I wanted to add about the quest mode, which is exclusive to the X1 and X2. The 20th has a Coliseum mode instead, and while I do really like the quests and how Digimon are unlocked by doing the quests, I do feel like there is a time commitment that the quests kind of ask of you. Because if you want to go from Black Agumon to Dark Tyrannomon, you're going to need complete quest 12? Or no. It's either 12 or 11. And out of context, that might sound like a lot, that might sound like not much, but with me telling you the context, it would take about an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on your luck, to complete that. And then with Dark Tyrannomon to Metal Greymon Virus, it's going to take about the same amount of time, leaning more towards the 2 hours as you're fighting tougher and harder enemies and longer levels, because levels are composed of multiple fights, and some of the later ones can have like 3 fights, a rest, and then 2 more fights. And if you lose at any point during those fights, you have to redo the entire quest again. There is an item that lets you skip to the end boss, and all you have to do to unlock an evolution, or even just counting as clearing the stage, is beat the final boss. So if you get the gate item that lets you skip ahead, it will count as you beating that stage for the purposes of evolution unlocks and for progressing to the next area. And another thing I wanted to point out is that both the X1 and the X2 have a very specific line you can go that has no real intensity to it. You don't need to complete the quests in order to get every single line, so you can just be a casual player and focus only on taking care of your pet and never even touch the quests, and you will still get a mega as long as you're following the path. I do encourage you to look up the guide if you're doing it that way, or you can just feel for it. I mean, I don't know how well that will go, but I mean, if you have no areas unlocked, and as long as you're taking care of your Digimon, you're probably going to not fail an evolution. So yeah, and then once you have a mega, you can very easily just kind of sweep through the quests and get the evolution that you want. But that is kind of a warning I want to give out, is that the quests will consume some of your time, and you kind of need to realize that. And if that's a downside to you because you're busy with work and school and more work, then the X1 and X2 might not be perfect for you, in which case the 20th might be better, because the 20th it has only the champion to mega stage, requiring you to complete battles, and it's only 15 battles, and it doesn't have to be the 15th battle in the arena. It just needs to be 15 battles with that Digimon, so you can just over and over again do the simplest, the easiest, earliest battle, and have that in your belt in like, I don't know, 20 minutes, maybe? Like, maybe? And that's, like, if you're just skipping through all the cutscenes and everything, it's probably going to be a lot faster. It's probably going to be more like 5 minutes. So, you know, just a heads up. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the video. Well, back to the evolution thing, because we were in the middle of talking about that. So it goes with 3 rookies, and then it, like, really spikes out from there. Like, it's genuinely a tree we're talking about, because it goes into, like, so many different champions that you can get based on what rookie you got, and your rookie will have exclusives that it has, and, like, the 20th has a bit of that, but not too much. But with the X, it's, like, most of your evolutions will be restricted to that rookie specifically. And then you have the champions, and it's the same thing. You have, like, a slew of ultimates that you can evolve into, and a lot of them are exclusive to specific champions. And then you have megas, and it kind of starts, I mean, like, I'm biased because there are so few mega Digimon that I actually like. So for me, the selection isn't as great, because I'm like, well, I can choose between these 3 Mega Digimon that I don't like, or these 2 Mega Digimon that I do like. So it becomes a lot more narrower to me, and then you have the Super Megas, or Super Ultimates, and they are even more restrictive with what they are. It definitely goes into, like, more of a narrowing thing. There's still, like, a variety of selection there in the Super Ultimates, but it's not as diverse as, like, the champion level or the ultimate level. The next thing about the X is kind of an upside and a downside. So your X will make a lot of noise unless you mute it, but I also don't encourage you to mute it, because then you might miss out on like your Digimon calling out for being hungry, and then you'll get a carry mistake, things like that. But when your Digimon wakes up in the morning, it will do what's called a Zyroll, and it rolls a number between 1 and 7, and that determines the random encounters for the day. And, like, 1 to 5, you're going to get usually random items, maybe a random encounter with a champion Digimon, usually one of the more poopy looking ones, like Numemon X, or what even was that thing called? It's like some weird gun-looking Poopmon. It's basically this game's version of the Poop Digimon, but you'll get an encounter with that thing, or Numemon, whichever version you have, and if you beat it, you get a lot of experience. If you don't, you might get an injury, you might not. It's no real downside to not doing it. But yeah, these things will occur usually in the morning. So if you're, like, taking a shower, or if you're working in the morning, you might want to do the new feature that the X's add, which is putting them on ice. There is a selection at the bottom here. It looks kind of like a light bulb, and it turns off and on the lights. So you have on and you have off. If you press off while Digimon is awake, it will go into a fridge. While it is in the fridge, it will not age, not get hungry, not poop, it's basically on pause, and I actually have like these two on pause right now because I don't really like training multiple at once. I tried it for like a day and I was like, no, this is awful. And yeah, so I decided to put those two on ice. I decided to hit the, you can pause the 20th, but to do it, I don't recommend it doing too much because it's a bit tedious. And if you're like me, if things get tedious, you get turned off by them. To turn a Digimon 20th into sleep mode, you need to press the reset button here, and it will bring up the flash screen. And then when you want to play with them again, you press load. And that will load up your Digimon. Everything will be fine, but it's once you press load, you do need to reset your watch, the like timer. But you don't need to do that with the X's when you put them on ice. So it's a lot less tedious. It's a lot more enjoyable. And one more unique feature with the X's is that they are their entire roster, or most of their roster, is X Digimon, or Digimon who naturally have the X antibody. And that the X antibody, if you don't know, is kind of a unique gimmick in Digimon. It stems from the X Evolution movie from like, God, nearly 20 years ago at this point. Like it was like 14 or 16 years ago. And they are basically Digimon who have denied a sort of reboot on the server and have gained this X antibody to fight what's called the X virus, which is basically purging the land of all Digimon. And so if you don't have the X antibody, you're dead. So yeah, and it also like changes how your Digimon looks, and it makes them stronger. Although in terms of these, they're still balanced within like the D20 roster, so they can fight and it's all fair. The X's as well, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but they can level up. Their level cap is based on what stage they are in, and so some forms rely on being a certain level. And one thing that is specific to the Digimon X2 is that it has kind of a new game plus. So that's definitely the pro with it, is that you get a lot more replay value from it, because what the X1 has 30 stages to go through, and then once you're done those stages, there's no real thing beyond that. It's just like, hey, go continue on raising your Digimon. You have access to all the areas, have fun. With the X2 though, you get once you beat the 45th area, because the X2 has more areas, you get access to Duskmon and Harrismon in both of their lines, and so you get two entirely new Digimon to play with, and it encourages you to kind of like have your Digimon die or use your backup egg slot and, raise a Harrismon or a Duskmon. And it's really cool. As for buying them, just to go over it again and to make sure I didn't miss it, because I'm pretty sure I did, the 20th is available on both Amazon.ca and Amazon.com, but the X1 and X2 is only available on Amazon.com. And the X2 specifically right now is in a bit of a mess, to put it lightly. It is, I think currently only the purple is available. Everything else is out of stock or on hold. Even if you pre-ordered it, you're not going to be able to get anything other than the purple. For some reason, why, we don't know. And there's also been a mix-up with the rosters. So the X purple here, you'll see my unboxing video where it has it has Loosemon X and I think Dark Knightmon X, and so that implies that you can get them on the roster, and on the back it shows Impmon. But in actuality, as you saw earlier, as I press wrong buttons, I have Black Agumon X, which is supposed to be exclusive to the XC, it's called, or the Gold X versions, which is the red with a gold X, or the silver with a gold X. It's supposed to be exclusive to those, but for some reason they messed up the roster and they don't have those available. So yeah, your roster will be swapped, so keep that in mind when buying your 20th, or your X2, sorry. And there will be a link in the description for where you can see all the rosters and where you can really see what Digimon are on there and what you'd like and how to raise them. And yeah, so my personal opinion for recommendation would be probably the X1, only because of all the stuff wrong with the X2, and because it's currently in shipping turmoil, it's currently in the rosters are swapped, and we don't know if Bandai is going to fix that or not. They haven't said anything official about it, so we're just kind of in this limbo state with the X2 right now. So that's why I recommend the X1 if you're just starting out, because it's functionally similar. It doesn't have the new game option with, you won't get a new Digimon rookies and new evolution lines when you complete Area 30, but it is still a very enjoyable device. They all have very unique rosters, and that's my recommendation right now. I will keep you guys posted on the information regarding the X2 and any future releases. I'll probably do update videos as this whole thing goes, and as more Digimon Vpets come to America and come to English, as kind of a hey, you know what you should get now? If you're just starting out, you should get this one. Because, if the X2 wasn't currently in turmoil, I would definitely recommend that for your first one. But because it is, I'd probably recommend the X1, just because it's a lot more consistent than the 20th or the X2. And it's a very similar vibe to the X2, and it's very easy to control. So yeah, hopefully that helps, and I will see you guys later.